Wendy and Lucy embodies a critique of American society by illustrating insufficient social systems. However, the film also cuts down to the psychology of atomization that separates individuals within local communities to the extent of even subverting their good-hearted instincts and human nature. The film presents itself inauspiciously as a picturesque and minimalistic story about a young homeless woman and her dog who are travelling across the country until their car breaks down and the dog goes missing. It has a kind of humanistic quality, while still retaining the commonplace ugliness and little indignities of everyday life. But despite the film's intersection of lo-fi realism with picturesque simplicity, there is a burgeoning conceptualised critique that comes to the surface and characterises the film as a whole. Wendy and Lucy's most substantive theme is the atomization of American society, the way in which individuals are considered as alone unto themselves, and how they even rationalise this social outlook, oftentimes despite their better nature. One of the scenes which best demonstrates this is when Wendy is caught shoplifting. As an audience member, we've already seen how she counts out her money, trying to estimate whether she can get to Northwestern Fisheries, where there could be a job for her, along with the poverty meals she is forced to eat, and the looming threat of having to let her dog go hungry. But even to the shop workers, Wendy is obviously a woman who needs help, and yet she is continuously either ignored or penalised for her desperate situation. This young shop worker epitomises the attitudes that the film is deconstructing. His valorisation of rules or store policies and total inability to see beyond them makes him not an unhappy executor of authority, but a self-vindicated and sanctimonious one. Uncharacteristically, the dialogue even shows its hand a little here, with some common self-justifying conservative platitudes, justifying a rejection of a person's right to their humanity.
If a person can't afford dog food, they shouldn't have a dog.
Followed by an admittance that the issue at hand is ideological.
I'm very sorry. This isn't going to happen again. I'm really very
Food
sorry.
is not the issue. It's about setting an example, right?
He is dismissive and is uninterested in the context or material reality that his rules are operating within. Subsequently, Wendy is subjected to typical destructive, punitive policing, in which her punishment for being in such dire straits is for things to be made even worse for her. She is taken to the police station and fined. By the time she gets back to the shop, her dog Lucy has gone. This whole process has achieved nothing. She will not be fined out of poverty. What Wendy and Lucy achieves with a micro-examination of these social interactions is to draw out the ingrained nature of American social conditioning. The store workers see their occupation as protectors and administrators of corporate profits and property, rather than as a vital service that has a mutually beneficial and entwined relationship with the local community. This is of course true, but they do not subvert or temper this unfortunate reality even when an opportunity presents itself. Similarly, the police, once again correctly, regard themselves as simply officiators of punishment. Even conducting themselves with performative humanity would be outside of their purview, but also unwise, lest it subvert the community perception of police as these apathetic instigators of suffering, a perception the police consider vital to sustain levels of authority and fear totally out of proportion.
Sir, my dog is tied up outside.
Relax.
Wendy finds society entirely apathetic to her humanity in its small-minded rigidity, if not outright exploitative. Beyond the shoplifting incident, this is a reoccurring mindset that the film reiterates throughout by a maddening series of minor indignities and petty obstacles. She isn't allowed to sleep in an empty car park or leave her car there when it won't start. The mechanic makes her pay a flat towing charge just to move her car from across the street. She has to leave her dog behind when she is taken to the police station, and so it is taken by the pound, which then isn't very interested in dealing with her when she can't provide them with a phone number or address. As with the police, apathy is once again depicted as a boon to these occupations in the community. The car mechanic could simply help Wendy move her car across the street, but instead he sees another opportunity to exploit. The security guard's job requires him to move Wendy on even if she is doing no harm. He can only then be understanding and helpful when it is outside of his duties. All of these jobs require purposeful, determined apathy for maximum efficiency. However, unlike a Franz Kafka story for instance, Wendy and Lucy portrays these social norms realistically, and is oftentimes tragic by showing that at least some of the people she encounters would in fact like to help her in their hearts. The manager is actually reluctant to call the police, but can't look past his social conditioning. A crime is being committed, and therefore it is up to the police to decide how to reconcile this action. He is simply unable to form a reasonable response to the shop boy's laughable invocation of store policies. Similarly, the security guard, which makes Wendy move her car, does try to help in the small ways in which he is able to. His human decency and empathy is however forcibly sublimated by his occupation, when the two are in conflict.
I can hear that. You can't park here, that's the rules.
Yeah, I got it.
Wendy rings her sister and brother-in-law simply for emotional support. However, Wendy's family is only able to see even their familial relationship in material terms.
Hey, Dan.
Wendy's brother-in-law seems a little more interested, or at least patient, to listen to her, But this scene simply underscores Wendy's situation with a sense of existential loneliness. Even within her own family, people are further subdivided into economic units with responsibilities both keenly felt and closely demarcated. This is one thing, but Wendy isn't even asking for that kind of help. Nonetheless, the two concepts can't help but become conflated, calling to mind notions particularly prominent in American conservative culture, in which politics and identity is concentrated within the family as opposed to the society.
Morgan, what does she want us to do about it?
No, nothing. I'm just calling.
When Wendy's sister asks rhetorically what she is supposed to do, we feel this notion reverberate around the events of the film, such as when the security guard generously gives Wendy $7. His personal act of kindness demonstrates the inability of any single individual to alleviate the oppressions of a social strata so comprehensively divided and consumed by a cycle of exploitation. Beyond this, however, the film also depicts that there is, for the most part, seemingly no interest in overcoming this cycle, which further atomizes communities and eradicates natural goodwill and communal relations. Whether it is a lack of imagination, purpose, context, or even simple desire to dispel inhuman tendencies that are considered social norms. Each person in this town is an island unto themselves. Their atomization is reinforced by their jobs, and what constitutes their ideology naturally follows suit. The store boy's puerile essentialist platitudes therefore is common wisdom. He is shown to have no regrets when confronted with the pointless cruelty that resulted from his sanctimonious actions.
What are you doing here?
Looking for my dog. She's gone. I hope you're real happy.
Whilst the film is too naturalistic and humanist to totally condemn him, it alternately offers no prospect for him to come to any form of realisation, or to even assimilate a different perspective from this experience. To this end, Wendy and Lucy comes close to betraying Kelly Reichardt's customary understated tone by way of a doom-laden encounter in the night. Wendy is forced to sleep out by the train tracks in the outskirts of town after abandoning her car to the mechanics. She is awoken by a disturbed man wandering and raving about murder. He seems to embody a horrific warning to such a society, which abandons the mentally ill and suffering to further degradation.
They treat me like trash, like I ain't got no rights. They can smell the weakness on you. Move it on. Move it on. Fuck! You know? Fuck!
We are left then with an almost apocalyptic view of American social conditions through this microcosm of a small town, where the elderly, disabled and desperate are forced to scrounge cans in exchange for pocket change, picking through the debris of a failed state, whilst even the good-hearted cannot imagine even the most practical of changes. Naturally, Wendy does not triumph against all the odds. She has lost her car and can't even keep Lucy, leaving her behind as a rescue dog, but she keeps going despite the bare existence of her simple human feelings, proving incompatible against an impenetrably hostile society.